Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Mansi Sanghavi, and here's where we talk about careers, interview, productivity, and everything that will help you grow in your personal and professional life. In today's video, we're going to talk about anxiety during interview. How do you deal with it? What should you do before an interview, during an interview, and after an interview? So let's get started. Have you ever felt cold in your hands or a very funny feeling in your chest? And you've had thoughts like, what if this doesn't go well? What if I don't get the job? What if they're judging me? What if I say something wrong? All of these things qualify as interview anxiety. Before we jump into how to deal with it, let's start with why does this happen? The first reason why interview anxiety happens is because we're always in a comparison mode of us versus others. If you're an MBA student, if you're somebody who's young and going out there to get your first job, the thought is always like, oh, I am getting a package of X amount and my colleague got it for a Y amount. What will my parents say? What is it that a friend of mine is doing? So this is constant comparison mode that we are having in our head, and the wrong part about this comparison is the fact that we're comparing ourselves with others. Remember that you as an individual are very unique and you cannot compare your skill sets, your traits, your interview opportunity to somebody else's. Sometimes we also think too futuristically. So something like, oh, once I get this job, I'm going to buy a house. Once I get this job, I know my parents are going to be happy. Once I get this job, something else is going to happen. So what happens is we are in the future most of the times instead of being in the present and thinking about how is it that I can do my best in the interview. And because of that, we lose out on the time. When you lose out on the time for preparation or just being in the moment, you lose out on being yourself, thinking on your feet, and actually doing well in an interview. Another thing that happens in most of us is that we have a very high standard for ourselves. We define our life with a career or with a job title or with a certain amount of salary. But let me tell you one thing, when you go into that interview room, it is not just about how you have answered or what you have said. It's also about a lot of external factors. What about what the business needs are? What about the mood of the interviewer? What about the other candidates who have come in to give that interview? So it's not always going to be a blame game. You cannot always blame that onto yourself when you go and give an interview. Now let's jump onto the methods or the tricks in which you can get over interview anxiety. Tip number 1. Try to answer it as if it is the only question you're answering. I know this sounds silly, but think about it. Most of the times you ramble because you think that I have to answer this question fast so that we can get on to the next questions. But it is not a timed clock. Interview is an interaction between you and the interviewer. Take this opportunity to actually have a conversation between you and them. Pace yourself in such a way that you are able to gather your thoughts and at the same time you're able to explain yourself. This will avoid you from running fast while giving an answer, being little nervous while you're thinking, okay, what next? What else am I going to say? And also the time for the interview to absorb what you're going to say and then flow like a natural conversation. So when you trick your mind into thinking that this is the only answer I have to give, you sort of take your time, you will sink in, you will think of the best possible answer and then you will give that. So you will have all your best skill sets, the way you're going to answer it. So imagine that, right? Like you have only one chance to make your first impression. Each answer that you're giving will be answered in the best possible way that you can do. So take your time, pace yourself, and then give the answer. The second tip is give specific details and information. This deals with you thinking about what had happened in that scenario that you're trying to explain. Make it like a storytelling process instead of you just giving objective answers around it. So if somebody asks you in a sales profile something like, how much sales did you make? and you want to tell them about how you did really well compared to others in the organization and you hit more than 100% of your targets in the certain year. You don't want to just say that, oh yeah, I was pretty good, I did more than 100% in my sales profile in the so and so company. But you want to sort of take your time and then walk them through that exact situation. Tell them about your profile, what is it that you did, how is it that you strategized your sales calls, how did you deal with sales objections, how did you go about convincing clients and bring them on board. So walk them through the entire process as if you were explaining in a storytelling fashion. Another thing you want to do is prepare for the most commonly asked questions. So practice them in front of the mirror, switch on your camera on the phone and practice it. Say it to yourself so that you're not wasting time thinking about them during an interview. So questions such as, tell me more about yourself, tell me about your strengths and your weaknesses, tell me about a time when you dealt with a difficult situation. These are the most commonly asked questions. And if you don't know how to answer them, I'll link the card above here in this video so you can answer some of these very effectively. Once you have the practice in answering these, it will become a very easy breezy interview to go ahead and be comfortable and not get nervous. Tip number 3 is take it as a conversation. When you're entering the interview room, what is it that you're telling yourself? Are you saying things to yourself such as, oh, I need this job, I need the money, I have mortgage on my head, I need to pay off my educational loan, what will my parents think about me, what would my student friends say about me? Are you going ahead and giving yourself so much of pressure that you have performance anxiety? If you're doing that, just take a breather, calm yourself down and take it as a conversation, because the moment you have so many thoughts piled onto your little brain, you're not going to get the perfect answers to answer. So take that little moment aside for yourself, take a deep breath and think of what is it that you want to bring out in your personality when you're answering that question. So maybe that you are a good communicator, it could be that you're good with number crunching. So my idea to tell you is that focus on your strengths, focus on what is it that makes you different compared to others. So once you start doing that, you will not only bring about positivity, but also you will boost your confidence by talking about what is awesome about you. Remember, an interview is not only to judge you for the best candidature, but it is to bring out your true self in that interaction. Tip number 4 is reverse psychology. I know this may or may not work for a lot of y'all, but still it works for me, so I'm here to share it with you. Imagine this bottle of water. If I'm going to hold this with my hands straight for 1 minute, how is this going to feel? Maybe I can do it for some time. 5 minutes, it's going to start hurting. 10 minutes, yeah, it's a difficult job. 1 hour, 10 hours, I cannot do it. My arm is going to break. Imagine you're doing this to your brain 24/7 while you're giving an interview. You need to stop thinking about, oh, I need to do this, I need to prove myself in so and so way by cracking the interview or getting the job. Instead, let's reverse the psychology here and be like, okay, I don't need that job. I'm just gonna go for an interview practice and I'll see how it goes. If not anything else, it will be a good networking event. I'll go and make, business connects with people and sort of go from there. So put it in your head that you're there to evaluate the company as well instead of them evaluating you. I know that there are some opportunities which are dream companies that we've always aspired to go for, but this little trick always helps you calm your nerves. Tell me which one was your best trick, or if there's something that you do specifically to calm down yourself before an interview, put it in the comments box and I'll be happy to know them. Please do like, share and comment because that keeps me motivated to keep creating this content for you guys. I will see you in the next week.